What I am tracking right now is a weather setup that is taking a dangerous turn, and I need to be very direct about this, because the window for preparation is closing rapidly. We are looking at a multifaceted, severe weather and winter weather event that is going to impact more than 10 million people across the Ohio Valley, the Midwest, and the Northeast over the next 48 to 72 hours. And the combination of threats we are dealing with here is not something I see very often, particularly for the middle of February. The primary concern at this hour is the severe weather threat developing across the Ohio Valley, where atmospheric conditions are becoming increasingly favorable for supercell thunderstorms and tornadoes. Cities along a corridor from Louisville through Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and Evansville are at elevated risk, and the timing of the most dangerous conditions is going to be this afternoon through tonight. At the same time, a powerful winter storm is organizing across the Midwest, bringing heavy snow and high winds to Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Beyond that, southern New England is dealing with a complex mix of snow, rain, and freezing rain that is creating hazardous travel conditions. And looking further ahead, there is growing model support for a potential nor'easter developing along the East Coast this weekend that could bring significant snowfall to the mid-Atlantic. Behind all of this, an Arctic blast is going to sweep across the eastern United States early next week, and the pattern beyond that is showing signs of another active period as we transition from late February into early March. This is not a single event. This is a pattern, and I want to walk through each piece of it so that you understand what is happening, where it is happening, and when you need to be most vigilant. The most immediate and most concerning threat right now is the severe weather setup across the Ohio Valley. The storm system that has been moving through the central United States is slowing down, and that deceleration is allowing it to tap into a much larger reservoir of Gulf moisture and atmospheric instability than what we were seeing 24 hours ago. When a low-pressure system slows down in this part of the country during a pattern like this, it gives the system more time to pull warm, moist air northward, and that is exactly what is happening. Surface dew points across portions of Kentucky, southern Indiana, and southern Ohio are climbing into the upper 50s and lower 60s, which is extremely high for mid-February, and that moisture is being advected northward into an environment where wind shear is already very strong. The combination of high instability and strong shear is what creates the environment for supercell thunderstorms. And supercells are the storm type that produce the most significant tornadoes. The significant tornado parameter, which is a composite index that meteorologists use to assess tornado risk, is showing values that are elevated across the Ohio Valley for this afternoon and tonight, and those values are continuing to trend upward as the surface low continues to deepen and slow its forward motion. More than 10 million people live within the area that is currently under enhanced or moderate risk for severe weather, and that includes Louisville, Kentucky, Cincinnati, Ohio, Indianapolis, Indiana, and Evansville, Indiana. The peak window for the most dangerous weather is going to be from early afternoon through the evening hours, roughly between noon and 10 p.m. local time. And during that window, any thunderstorm that develops has the potential to become severe and potentially tornadic. This is not a drill. If you live in or near the Ohio Valley, you need to have multiple ways to receive warnings. You need to know where your safe place is, and you need to be prepared to act quickly if a tornado warning is issued for your area. Do not wait until you hear the sirens. Have a plan now. What makes this severe weather setup particularly dangerous is that it is happening during a time of year when people are not typically thinking about tornadoes, and it is happening in a region that, while not unfamiliar with severe weather, does not see setups like this very often in February. The atmospheric dynamics that are in place right now are more typical of late March or April, and that element of surprise is something I want to emphasize. Tornadoes can and do occur in February, and when they do occur, they are often underestimated because they fall outside of what people think of as tornado season. The other complicating factor here is that some of these storms are going to be developing during the late afternoon and evening hours, which means there is a risk of tornadoes occurring after dark. Nocturnal tornadoes are statistically more dangerous than daytime tornadoes because people are less likely to see them coming and less likely to take shelter in time. If a tornado warning is issued for your county tonight, treat it as a life-threatening situation and get to your safe place immediately. Do not try to look outside and see the tornado. Get below ground if you can, and if you cannot get below ground, get to an interior room on the lowest floor of a sturdy building, away from windows, and cover yourself with as many layers of protection as possible. While the severe weather threat is developing across the Ohio Valley, a separate but related winter weather event is unfolding across the Midwest. The same storm system that is generating the severe weather to the south is producing heavy snow and strong winds across Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan. Snow has been falling across this region since early this morning, and it is going to continue through tonight and into tomorrow morning before finally tapering off. Snowfall totals across the core impact zone are going to range from 4 to 8 inches, with locally higher amounts possible in areas where heavier bands set up and remain stationary for several hours. The combination of snow and wind is going to create blowing and drifting snow, which is going to make travel extremely difficult across much of the region. Visibility is going to be reduced to a quarter mile or less in the heaviest bands, and road conditions are going to be hazardous. I-80 across Iowa and Nebraska, I-90 across southern Wisconsin, and US 41 across the Upper Peninsula are all going to see extended periods of dangerous travel conditions through tonight. Chicago is currently on the southern edge of the snow shield, and whether the city sees accumulating snow is going to depend on the exact northern extent of the precipitation. Right now, it looks like the heaviest snow is going to stay north of the city, but there is still a chance for light accumulation in the northern suburbs, and I am going to be watching that closely as the system continues to evolve. Further to the east, southern New England is dealing with a complex and messy winter weather situation that involves snow, rain, and freezing rain all occurring in close proximity to each other. This is a classic nor'easter type setup where you have cold air locked in at the surface across the interior, warmer air moving in aloft, and precipitation falling through that temperature profile and changing phase multiple times as it reaches the ground. Areas across southeastern New York and northeastern Pennsylvania are seeing light ice accumulation this morning, and while the amounts are not going to be significant, we are talking about a glaze to maybe 1/10 of an inch in the highest risk areas. Even small amounts of ice can make roads extremely slick and dangerous. Southern New England, including Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Massachusetts, is seeing heavy snow this morning, but that snow is going to transition to rain across the southern portions of the region as warmer air continues to push north. The transition zone between snow and rain is going to be very sharp, and it is going to move north through the day, which means that areas that are seeing heavy snow right now could be seeing rain by this afternoon. Behind that transition, there is a risk of the rain changing back to freezing rain or sleet tonight as colder air works back in behind the system, and that creates a secondary hazard for the evening and overnight hours. Travel across southern New England today is going to be hazardous, and I would strongly recommend avoiding unnecessary travel if you are in this region. Looking beyond the immediate threats, the next major element of this forecast is the potential for a nor'easter to develop along the East Coast this weekend. I want to be clear about the confidence level here. This is not a high confidence forecast yet, and there is still a range of possible outcomes depending on how the setup evolves over the next 24 to 48 hours. What we are watching is the potential for a coastal low to develop off the mid-Atlantic coast late Saturday or early Sunday, and then intensify rapidly as it moves northward along the eastern seaboard. Some of the model guidance, particularly the GFS model, is showing the potential for this system to undergo what meteorologists call bombogenesis, which is a rapid intensification process where the central pressure of the low drops 24 millibars or more in 24 hours. When a coastal storm undergoes bombogenesis, it typically produces very heavy snowfall rates, strong winds, and coastal flooding, and the impacts can be significant across a very wide area. If this system develops as the more aggressive model solutions are suggesting, we could be looking at significant snow accumulation across portions of Virginia, Maryland, Delaware, Pennsylvania, New Jersey, and potentially even southern New England. Some of the guidance is showing the potential for a foot or more of snow in the heaviest bands, but I want to emphasize that this is still uncertain. The challenge with nor'easters is always the track, and a shift of just 50 to 75 miles in the position of the low can mean the difference between a major snowstorm and a near miss. Right now, I am watching the trends in the model guidance closely, and I will have much higher confidence in specific snowfall totals by tomorrow morning. What I can say with confidence is that the pattern supports the development of a coastal storm, and anyone from Washington, D.C. north through Boston needs to be paying attention to forecast updates over the next 48 hours. Behind the weekend nor'easter potential, the pattern is going to shift dramatically as Arctic air surges into the eastern United States. Sunday and Monday are going to be very cold across the East Coast, with temperatures running 20 to 30 degrees below normal for mid-February. Morning lows on Monday across the mid-Atlantic and the Northeast are going to be in the single digits and teens, with wind chills dropping below zero in many locations. That cold air is going to be short-lived, though, because the pattern is going to moderate again by the middle of next week. What is more interesting from a longer-range perspective is what the pattern is doing as we move into late February and early March. The signals I am seeing in the extended range guidance suggest that we are going to see another surge of warmer air moving into the central and southern United States during the final week of February. And that warm surge is going to set the stage for another potential round of severe weather across the southern plains and the southeast. We are approaching the time of year when the severe weather season begins to ramp up across the south, and the pattern that is setting up for late February and early March has some characteristics that look favorable for strong storms and potentially significant tornado outbreaks. I am not issuing specific forecasts for that time frame yet because we are still more than a week out, but this is something I am going to be watching very closely, and I wanted to flag it now so that it is on your radar. In addition to the severe weather potential for late February and early March, there are also signs that the upper Midwest could see additional winter weather during that same time frame. The pattern is going to remain active, and while the storm track is going to shift somewhat compared to what we are seeing this week, there is still going to be the potential for snow across portions of the northern plains, the upper Midwest, and the Great Lakes. Winter is not over yet, and I want to emphasize that because there is sometimes a tendency in mid-February to start thinking about spring. But the reality is that we are still in the heart of winter from a climatological perspective, and significant winter weather events can and do occur well into March across the northern tier of the United States. To consolidate the timing and the regional impacts, here is what you need to know. Today through tonight, the primary threat is severe weather across the Ohio Valley, with the peak window for tornadoes being this afternoon and evening. At the same time, heavy snow is ongoing across Iowa, Nebraska, Wisconsin, and the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and that snow is going to continue through tonight. Southern New England is dealing with a mix of snow, rain, and freezing rain today, with the transition zones shifting north through the afternoon and potentially shifting back south tonight. This weekend, attention shifts to the East Coast and the potential for a nor'easter to develop Saturday night into Sunday, bringing the possibility of significant snow to the mid-Atlantic and potentially southern New England. Sunday and Monday, Arctic air moves in across the east, bringing very cold temperatures. Late February and early March, the pattern shows signs of another active period with potential severe weather across the south and additional winter weather across the upper Midwest. This is a complex and evolving pattern, and I will continue to provide updates as new data comes in. Make sure you are staying informed, have emergency supplies in place, and are prepared to act quickly if warnings are issued for your area. Thank you for following this coverage, and stay safe.